I flew tactical jets off aircraft carriers around the world. I carried the nuclear football at the White House, and believe it or not, they trusted a 5'8" D3 running back with that job. I graduated from Havoc, a highly specialized tactical jet weapon school not mentioned in movies like Top Gun. I've got 6 kids, 4 degrees, and I survived 1 nasty cancer. These days, I have the good fortune of leading a nearly 100-year-old dairy company with about 1,000 incredible teammates across the Midwest. And through those experiences, I'll tell you something that might surprise you. The most valuable leadership lesson I've learned is not how to be the ace. It's how to be the wingman. Now, I know what you're thinking. That flies in the face of the entire mythology of naval aviation. Hollywood loves mavericks. America loves mavericks. And when we all started flight school, we all wanted to be Maverick. But then, weapons school began. We put on our flight suits, we filled our cups with stale coffee, we hit our copy of Radar for Dummies, and we started to prepare for what would be months of the most dynamic and exciting flying we would ever do in our entire careers. And on the first day of class, a buddy of mine, call sign Mr. McDriblets, sitting next to me, leaned over and whispered, "Bro, we're gonna fail nearly every one of these events over the next few months." And you know what? He said it with a smile. If you wanted to hear the truth, even though you didn't want to hear it, Mr. McDriblets was the guy to tell you. But the truth is that a military weapons school like Havoc or Top Gun is not designed to produce aces. It's designed to produce something much more valuable to the organization, something much harder to build. It's designed to produce wingmen. And believe it or not, the wingman is much more valuable and has more responsibility. You see, in the Navy, every pilot I flew with was genuinely elite. But the best of the best flew in the number 2 position. Not because they couldn't take the lead, but because by their preparation, they could step up in a second's notice and spring into action. You see, that's the Wingman Effect. Being able to step up and make everyone else in your organization better, even the ace. And the Wingman Effect is not a passive thing. It's a choice. It's a deliberate choice to fly wing when you could just as easily command the spotlight. And by committing to that decision every day, on purpose, you can make your organization stronger. Here's how. I've been blessed to lead teams in the military, at the White House, and in the private sector. And there's 3 things that wingmen do that most successful people that think they're the ace often stop doing. The first is mission over ego. I've been in the Navy the first few years of my career. I was still a junior officer. I had identified a serious flaw in the way that we had trained our pilots. We had executed full-dress mission rehearsals when many of our pilots had gaps in how they executed the fundamentals. Training that way cost taxpayers a fortune. And it also rendered a number of pilots vulnerable to making mistakes when they were under real pressure. At first, I was loud about it to the brass, convinced that I could change things on my own by the sheer force of being right. But the harder I pushed, the more it became about me and the less it became about the mission. And then a teammate of mine, call sign Malibu, he said something to me I hadn't considered. He said, "You're right. Your idea is right. But the way you're going about it is not working. Let us help." And 2 became 4, and 4 became 8, We collected the data, we brought it to the brass, and they listened. Because it was no longer coming from one loud guy with an agenda. We won. They greenlit our idea, and we changed the way we built readiness. But more importantly, it was when I stopped trying to be the ace, the hero of my own idea, that the idea finally won. That's mission over ego. The second habit of a successful wingman is that they value correction over comfort. So let me ask you, who in your life can call you out without consequence? Who can call out your blind spots and your bad ideas? If you can't think of anyone, you don't have a wingman. And that means you're flying alone, solo. And in my world, pilots that fly alone do not last very long. So this is the weapons school. We have this pinnacle event. It's called the integration mission. It's dynamic, it's complex, it's a thing you've been building up for months. And I was ready. I had planned, I had briefed, I pre-flight my aircraft, checked my gauges. I'd even listened to my favorite pump-up song, which is Thunderstruck, by the way. And then when my big moment came, I whiffed. Big time. You see, when you're flying, it's dynamic. Target systems are squawking at you, there's threats above, the hard deck is rapidly approaching below. It's information overload. And I was so focused on trying to be the ace, not make a mistake, that I did not hear my wingman call out the correct target. And I engaged the wrong target. And no matter whether you're pulling G's, that sinking feeling of letting down your teammates, it punches you right in the gut. But the Navy and Naval Aviation has a way to take that kind of mission failure and turn it into operational success. And that's with a debrief. So we all walk into this big classified theater, peers, superiors. We're going to review and dissect every decision, every mistake for hours. And as I sat there in my seat, sweating, nervous as hell, not knowing if one mistake was going to change the future of my career, as the tape played back in that silent theater, I decided to stand up, called stop tape, called myself out, named my mistake, named the fix, and sat back down. And as I sat there for another couple hours, I didn't know whether or not I'd graduate. It was the first time in my career that I felt like I'd lost complete control of my destiny. But I also felt a strong sense of relief. I had surrendered to the process. So when we filed out of the theater, our instructors said to me it was out of their hands whether I'd graduate, but I'd done the right thing. My buddy, Mr. McDriblets, put his hand on my shoulder and was like, that took guts. Good old McDriblets. But I had walked into that theater feeling very defeated and walked out feeling like I could fly again. That's what a debrief is. It's not a public humiliation. It's not a punishment. It's a process that sets the individual and the organization free to move forward. Too often in today's society, we say, let's not say anything. Let's avoid turbulence. Let's hope they get it right next time. Well, that's a culture of comfort. Nobody learns and nobody gets better, and it doesn't work. You see, when one person stands up, admits their mistake, it gives permission to the rest of the organization to do the same. And in naval aviation, the debrief has no rank. The junior pilot can call up the commanding officer, and they welcome it, not just in the name of team building and psychological safety, because they appreciate it because it'll make the organization better. That's because your wingmen tell you how you fly, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. And that's correction over comfort. The third habit of a successful wingman is formation over spotlight. In our society, the ace gets attention, but it's the wingman who guarantees survival. As a CEO, most days I fly wing, not because I lack authority, but because it's my job to empower others. See, when I recently was made CEO of our dairy company, I knew that I needed to learn the friction points of our frontline teammates. And I certainly couldn't do that from a corner office, a Zoom call, or some kind of remote work situation. So I did what I had done in the Navy. I put on the uniform, I went through the training syllabus, got debriefed, got behind the counter, scooped ice cream, worked the register, and even rolled up my sleeves and spent time on the plant floor. And once I had learned the friction that our teammates were experiencing, I took some of those problems back to the brass, just like my teammate Malibu did for me so many years ago in the Navy. And then I got out of the way. I slipped back into the formation. And then our head of customer experience, just in the last 2 weeks, devised a plan to take cardboard boxes and make a mock-up store, bring the corporate staff to work the line and the frontline teammates in, empowering frontline teammates to show the frictions and the problems they're experiencing to accelerate the solutions. All I had to do, take my spot in the wing position and be ready to support the team and accelerate changes. That's formation over spotlight and action. I'm not the smartest person in the room, and my wife and our 6 kids will be the first to attest to that. And I'm certainly no better than any of the incredible teammates I've had the good fortune to work with throughout the years. But it's not my job to be the smartest person in the room. It's my job to empower the smartest people in the room so they can do their job. And I've been blessed to be on teams at the weapons school, the White House, and in the private sector. And this is important. The leaders that build the most dynamic and resilient teams are the ones that do not make themselves indispensable. In fact, the leaders that empower and hold their teams accountable are the ones that build the best teams. See, the desire to be the ace runs deep in our society. But the Wingman Effect breaks that habit every day on purpose. And as a CEO, I choose to fly wing, to put mission over ego, correction over comfort, and formation over spotlight. And the leaders that I trust the most, they do the same. Not because it's going to yield perfection. You'll make mistakes, our teams will make mistakes. That's life. But it's because it builds the kind of teams that can adapt, grow, and thrive in any environment and in any market condition. That's the Wingman Effect. So, let's go back to that question I asked you earlier. Who in your life can call you out without consequence? If you still can't think of someone, you still don't have a wingman, fix that today. Find that person. Hire that person. Be that person. Because when you do, others will join your formation. And 1 becomes 2, and 2 becomes 4, and 4 becomes 8. And your formation will take flight. Thank you.